Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Weekend Wrap-Up. I'm David Thomas. This is Mr. Josh Blevins. It is June 22nd. And Josh, since it's June 22nd, year 2024, we're going to talk about the weather because it is hot.
It's hotter than crap out there.
It sure is. And just so we'll give you the forecast for the weekend.
Yeah.
Hot today, hot tonight, hot tomorrow night. Stay indoors if you can.
Very hot, not a lot of rain, very hot. Yes, air conditioning is good.
It's very good.
Yes.
And we don't have quite as much to talk about as we have the last 3 weeks, Josh, but we still have quite a big show coming up.
Yeah, there weren't as many meetings this week, but man, we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we do have a lot to talk about
yeah.
either way. But before we jump into that, let's hear a word from our sponsor, Dennis Young Insurance.
Yep.
With the personalized service you deserve at Dennis Young Insurance Agency.
As a local independent agency, we offer coverage from several different companies, including Erie. So whether it's auto, home, life, personal, or business, we can find the right coverage to meet your unique insurance needs. And with a rate lock advantage, your rates won't go up as long as you do not change drivers, autos, or addresses. Contact us at Dennis Young Insurance Agency, insuring Shelbyville and surrounding areas since 1988.
Again, welcome back to the Weekend Wrap-Up here on Shelbyville Now. And Josh, we've got a few things to talk about. And starting out on Tuesday, I know you've been to some meetings, but not quite as many. But there's a lot of content here.
There's a lot of content, not as many meetings. Last week we had 6 meetings and 3 events. It was packed. This week is a little quieter on the meeting front. On Tuesday, we had our monthly county committee meetings, which is our 3 standing committees. Whole meeting went 47 minutes.
That's for all the committees.
All the committees. Basically, was a lot of reading reports. Some of the people giving the reports weren't there. They're on vacation. It's summer, this and that. So not a lot of controversy. The longest discussion was we've got a few issues at county animal control.
What are the issues, Josh?
The issues are there's too many stray dogs, I guess.
Yeah.
And you got too many people not spaying and neutering.
Yeah.
So if you got a pet, was it Bob Barker that used to say spay and neuter after every?
Yeah.
Spay and neuter your pets because they've not had the ability to accept owner surrenders in like 10 months, they said. And they've been halting stray intake off and on for a number of months as well. They're just full.
Yeah.
And they got nowhere to send them. They don't have enough people adopting. And you've got people in the city and the county frustrated because they don't have anywhere to take their dogs. So unfortunately, they're taking their dogs out in the county and just drop them off on the side of the road.
If you don't want a dog, just don't get a dog.
Yeah, but don't do that to a pet. I mean, they can't take care of themselves out on the side of the county road.
It's sad.
Nowhere. It's terrible. So,
well, I feel for those folks. I mean, they have a heart for animals, or they wouldn't be there.
Right.
And they see this overcrowding, and they're helpless.
Right. And it's not just our county, as they mentioned a lot of times. It's across the board in the area. They used to be able to ship them. I think they said up north they had more capacity to take stray animals, and even that capacity's gone away. There's nowhere to send them up there. So literally they're busting at the seams. We've got a couple other animal rescues in the county. They're busting at the seams. So again, spay and neuter. We've got a spay and neuter clinic in town.
Yes, we do.
It's income based. I would imagine if your income's at the right level, it's probably as cheap as free. I think in some cases.
Right on Union Street, right across from the old hospital there.
Yeah. It's just really important because at some point, I mean the sad truth is, if it keeps up like this, they're going to have to start euthanizing.
I know
a lot of animals.
Irresponsible humans are causing problems for animals.
So it was sad. And just everybody needs to do their part. I mean, their animal control is just a handful of people. They can't control the whole issue by themselves.
No, the public's going to have to help.
Public has to step in and help. So, but other than that, at the county committee meetings, like I said, pretty calm. They talked a little bit more about the veterans parking space. They did the veterans board or whatever came back with a recommendation. They wanted 5 parking spaces. They're like, I mean, if you're giving us parking spaces, we'll take 5. And everybody kind of laughed at that. And I don't think they're getting 5. So it seems like they're getting 2. Yeah, it seems like they're getting 2, which seems like a pretty fair. I mean,
based on what's available up there.
Based on space.
That's about good. Yeah.
Yeah, and they have the veterans facility there in the basement where they accept them, and I think I mean, I would think that would handle most of their capacity. It looked like the last couple of months they get about 60 to 80 veterans visit over the course of the whole month.
Yeah, so that's
that seems
2
like
a day.
Yeah.
Well, not really, probably 3 a day.
Yeah, 2 or 3 days. So yeah,
days,
so it seems like that's a pretty fair number. So then Wednesday lunchtime, I went to the Industrial Development Board.
Yeah.
That's an interesting board that you don't often see. They don't live stream that one, David. They don't.
No, but you got that on video for us.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we posted the full video of the meeting. It was only 9 minutes, so it wasn't
Yeah.
that hard to post the whole thing.
No.
Up for discussion was a pilot program for Cooper Steel. This is a payment in lieu of taxes.
Right.
Back in 2022, the city and county passed this program. And what it is, depending on the number of new jobs and capital investment you do in the county, they'll give you a break on your property taxes going forward.
Right.
So for a certain number of years, if you don't, for instance, the mid-level one, if you do a $25 million investment or bring in 50 jobs, you get 4 years no property tax, and then it phases in at year 11. In this case with Cooper Steel, they're bringing in 139 new jobs, $65 million capital investment. So they're getting 7 years no property tax, other than what they're currently paying because they're already there. So they're currently paying $72,000 a year. So they'll keep paying that, but they won't get an increase, and they won't hit their full rate until year 14. So
okay, what exactly are they doing there? Do you know what the project is? I think it's sort of a school and a technical.
Yeah, I heard there's 3 different ports. They're expanding some of the production. They're adding a school, there's some training and stuff. And just on the front end, we want to say Cooper Steel is, kudos to them for expanding in our town.
That's 139 jobs.
It's 139 jobs. They give money to the schools. They give money to Celebration.
Exactly.
They're giving money everywhere. They're building a Christian school. I mean,
Right.
they're all over town. So not to take away from them, but in general, this pilot program, when we put it in 2022, we were desperate for industrial development in the area.
Yeah.
This was pre duck stand and everything in the industrial park, and we were like, man, we need some industrial development.
I'll say
so
this.
we set up these numbers.
139 new jobs is a lot more than 30.
Okay, yeah, and yeah,
We're not going to go there.
Yeah, we would take 10 of these projects over at duck stand.
Absolutely.
But going forward, we're not as desperate for industrial. We don't even have an industrial park with space in it right now.
Right.
So at some point hopefully in the near future, city council has to take the first step. They need to go in and adjust these numbers because they're awfully generous. We did the math. It ends up that we're paying roughly $50,000 a job for these 139 new jobs over, the first 7 years, which is about $7,000 per year per job. And obviously those employees are not going to generate enough sales tax, property tax to offset that. So it's a net loss to us as a county.
Well, we got to hope
so
that people come to town and get
Right.
jobs. And I don't know, man. It's a cycle that you can't really put a number on.
Right.
We
yeah.
really can't.
Yeah, but in general, if they would they need to adjust. It's called a matrix of these numbers.
Right.
They need to lower a little bit of the incentive and maybe raise some of the standards of how much you got to bring. Just because, again, we're not in that desperation mode we were when we were sitting on an empty industrial park. We had all these companies that had shut down over the years. Nobody knew coming in. Now we actually have growth. We've got companies.
Yeah.
We've got the ammo place coming. Yeah.
And I look at these 139 jobs and I say, well, maybe that's 139 families, young people that don't leave Bedford County to go get a job somewhere else.
Oh,
because,
sure.
That industry probably pays more than what a college educated person coming out of college can make on average in Bedford County.
Yeah,
I mean, there's just not a lot of jobs there for a college degree, so people have to leave town.
Yeah.
But you're looking at a welder making good money these days. And getting
sure.
into the construction, honestly, if I were having to do it over, just getting out of high school, that's the path I'd take because the money's better.
Yeah, and absolutely. Again, we're not saying anything negative about this particular pilot grant. We're just saying in general, the program at this point going forward really needs to be adjusted because at some point we're just going to give away the farm if we just keep throwing out money.
It's kind of like tying a stake around your neck, get the dog to play with it,
Yeah, at some point you got too many dogs chasing you. Maybe it's time to let loose the stake a little bit. So that's where we're at with that. And then later in the day, Wednesday, I grabbed the paper of our local newspaper, Bedford County Post, and right on the front cover, we had a press release introducing a Better Bedford PAC, Political Action Committee.
Right.
So we did a little digging and went with the state. Honestly, I don't know what state. I think Secretary of State gave us this information. The donors to this pack, which we listed already on our Facebook, Cooper Steele gave them $25,000, and I'm going to butcher some pronunciations. I apologize. I don't know most of these people. Carol Beatty, maybe David Coffey, and Gary Fayard gave $3,500. Marsh for Tennessee Business Pack, which we're going to assume is Pat Marsh, $2,500. Shamrock Farms, which is Mike Davis, gave $2,000, and Gary King gave $1,000. So total $41,000 into this political action committee, which was announced this week. But actually, going back into their filings and paperwork, they've actually been working on this for an entire year. The first round of donations came in June of last year.
Well, let's talk about that. I look at that list of names, and I see some very generous people that give to most every, let's like Cooper Steele, they're giving them every cause. They're spreading their success all over town.
Right.
And then you look at some of the others there that they're probably just being generous, and it's going to a cause, and we don't really understand what this cause is. We know it's a political action committee, but we've got a hint.
We got some hints, and I put a comment out that's got some feedback, and I'm going to read the comment and the feedback, and we're going to dig right on it.
Okay, all right.
So, this was my comment. It said under Shelbyville Now, so in case people didn't know, sometimes you post, sometimes I post. This was me, so I'll take full responsibility for what I say. Okay. I said their use of the term nonpartisan throughout the website and the press release while targeting a community that is predominantly conservative, which would be Bedford County, to me is a red flag and likely indicates a liberal agenda that will be polished up in an attempt to sell it to the uninformed. I will be highly leery of any candidate that they endorse. A couple keywords I use there just to be clear. I said it's a red flag that likely indicates. I mean, I haven't made up my mind 100%. I'm just reading the tea leaves of what I saw, and my opinion was I got some red flags early on just going through this website. So we almost immediately got some pushback from our friend Warren Wells, who, if we walked outside, we could see the celebration right across the street, who asked if that was a typo. Most of the names I see are conservatives. I'm confused why nonpartisan means liberal in this situation. I spent 90% of my adult life around politics, and I caution putting labels on people or groups before any actions. It's very dangerous. So to Mr. Wells, nonpartisan. The liberal may have been a strong word early on. I'm still going to stand by it because I used it. Reading through the website some more, I would almost lean towards it feels a little political elite-like to me. Some of the reasoning for that is on their About Us page, they have a heading, Citizens Deserve. And it's got 3 items under what citizens, which would be us, deserve. All 3 of those paragraphs start with our leaders, a leaders, a leader. The very first one actually says, our leaders deserve our trust. For me anyways, and I consider myself fairly conservative,
you're conservative.
A leader is there to serve the people.
Right.
Yeah, a leader, and we need leadership, and there's nothing wrong with leadership. But at the government level, as was stated by our founding fathers, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed.
Right.
The government is supposed to be of the people, by the people, for the people.
We were taught that in school, John.
We were taught that in school.
I don't know if they still teach that.
I don't know if they still teach that. So again, and all we had to go off is just a website, but they had a year to work on it. So words matter, and the words that they used sent up some red flags to me that said this looks like a group that is more about, leading the plebes, us low-level poor citizens in town.
Because we don't know much.
Because we don't know much. They're going to lead us, and we need to get in line and follow. And we posted a little red square that they had on the website. Why don't you read some of that, David?
Yeah, but I want to go back, too, on the PAC.
Yeah.
A PAC, when it establishes itself, can identify with a specific party.
Right.
They can say we identify with the Democrat Party, or we can identify with the Republican Party or the Green Party or whatever political party you choose to identify with and link to support. When you go and you're non-affiliated, you can label yourself bipartisan if you're non-affiliated. So I assume that that's what they mean. They're not affiliated with any specific
the Democrats
party.
or the Republicans.
Right. So but that doesn't mean necessarily that makes them a certain thing.
Right.
It's just you look at what they say, and this is what you figure.
Yeah, you got to read between the lines at that point. Yeah,
so,
I did, just real quick. I before I got down here, I used to do a lot of work in Nashville for a lot of the bigger conservative groups out of DC. I did a lot of work for a National Federation of Independent Business, Intercollegiate Studies Institute, Victims of Communism Foundation, National Federation of Independent Business. In particular, they labeled themselves, and me at the time when I was doing work for them, as bipartisan, nonpartisan. But that was because they were working on the national level. And if you know anything about NFIB, they're conservative as all get out.
Right.
But they're also trying to reach out to some progressives and some liberals. They're worried about small business issues, about government intruding into small business, smaller government, less government regulation. Yes. But they don't go out there and pretend to be anything they're not. I mean, you can read any of their literature and you read right down, you're like, oh, that's conservative.
Yeah.
So, and that's what we just try to do here. Yeah. We just read right down the website. Well, so let's go into some of the things they don't tolerate.
It says there's 4 points that says we will not tolerate. Yeah. And when I read this, I was quite hopeful when I read it, because intentional divisiveness, unwillingness to collaborate, and I put those two together because they said they were going to be supporting candidates for a better government. Okay, so I assume that's better representation for the people.
Sure.
And right now we have some people on the council and on our Bedford County Commission that are trying to represent the people.
Right.
But they run into these problems when you have no willing to have a discussion on the commission floor, call to vote immediately, no discussion because it's already been predetermined, and that's intentional divisiveness, and it's not willing to collaborate. So I hope they will replace these people that will not allow discussion on the commission floor. Maybe they're going to do that. If they do what they say they're going to do here, I'm in. I'll donate. All right. Yeah. Stubbornness disguised as steadfastness. Yeah. Stubbornness to not collaborate, and stubbornness to fall in on intentional divisiveness and stay there and not be willing to listen to solutions to potential problems and closing off discussion. That is not a good way to govern. Okay. That's not a good way to represent the people. Right. So if there's not going to tolerate this, I'm all in. And then the last one, the spread of or reliance upon misinformation, and that misinformation right now that has been spread and decisions were made upon. We have duck sand hanging out here on 231 North Business Park that the county and the city donated a bunch, and were misled down a path of misinformation, and now we have a big question mark because of it. So if they're not going to tolerate that, I'm for it.
Right.
I will donate. Okay.
Get
sign me up.
Sign up.
If they are going to do what they say right here, I'm in.
Right.
I will join these folks that have donated.
Yeah.
It might not be that much, but
you may not be giving $3,500. One of those points that I actually touched on my original post, and I'll hit on again, that stubbornness disguised as steadfastness. Another thing I couldn't find anywhere on their website was a list of core values or convictions or beliefs. Yeah. In local government, there's some areas, some items come up for discussion. There's gray area. There's room for debate. There's room for discussion. But there's some things, I mean, there's core values you and I hold that, you're not going to
Smaller government is one of them.
Yeah, smaller government, less government intrusion.
Right.
More, tax issues, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there's a time that, it's not stubbornness. It's just you're truly held, personal belief that you don't believe the government needs to be going in this direction. And sometimes you got to stand for what you believe in.
Right.
So,
and having the opportunity to share that in discussion, that would be a novel idea. And, and then getting back to the collaboration part, hey, I'm for it.
Yeah. At that point. So, but just a lot of red flags reading through. And I've looked at a lot of political language over the year. And we used to do direct mail pieces and stuff just to raise money. And you look for those kind of keywords and just the way things are phrased. Well, when somebody said, use the word salad on one of the comments. And there was a little bit of word salad. I mean, there's some things they were promoting, like that, something to the effect of housing. We think everybody should have a shot at housing. Well, I mean, nobody thinks everybody should live out on the street.
But when the government's going to try to provide it, that's socialism.
Right. Yeah. We're not for that. So.
And I don't think they said that.
No.
But they alluded to they would have the answers for that. maybe.
maybe.
When you have leader, like you pointed out,
Yeah, there was a lot of leaders.
I hear Democrat. No, I didn't say that.
No, you didn't say that. And again, I may have been quick to use the term liberal, but time will tell. And if they come out and they support some good candidates and they support some
I'm
good
all
conservative causes, we're all in.
Yeah.
But just reading between the lines of what they had a year to prepare, it didn't just pop up out of nowhere.
Well,
And I don't know any of the people on that list personally, so I don't know, how conservative or liberal. But I would say that's a list of, these are not your normal everyday run-of-the-mill Bedford Countyans. This is not a grassroots kind of thing. This is more.
no, there's no $50 donation.
There's not a long list of $50 there.
But I do know, and
grassroots.
to Warren's comment about conservatives, I see some of these names, and I know they are conservatives. And I see some of these names, and I also know that they're not.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is a mix.
Yeah.
All right. So, but if you can go to the little red banner and those 4 non-tolerable things,
Right.
and you really do that, not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But
if that happens,
the proof is in the pudding and the eating thereof.
Right.
Okay.
So we're going to hold off a little bit up for the pudding, but we I think we've gotten a point out of where we came to our decisions. Right. So that was it on Wednesday. And
by
actually,
the way, speaking of that, okay, it's a free country.
It is a free country.
And we're not, the government don't give us our freedoms. Okay?
No,
so this pack is free to form and function.
Oh, absolutely.
Just like any other package.
Yeah, absolutely. So and that's
we support that freedom for them to do that.
Oh, for sure.
So, and I would support it under those circumstances out there.
Yeah. Thursday in the evening, the city had their first Board of Zoning Appeals meeting since April of 2023. I guess we don't get a lot of zoning appeals.
Yeah.
So there's a Little Rock Quarry off Railroad Avenue that was formerly owned by Thomas Wright.
Yeah.
And I hear rumor it was the part of a lawsuit back in the day that cost the city several $1 million. A lot of money. And it was recently purchased by a company, Volunteer Materials, and it was time for their 5-year review. They have a special exception to have a quarry on that property. That property is zoned I-2.
Right.
And under I-2, you're not allowed to have a quarry.
Correct.
Which was all part of, go back to the lawsuit.
Right.
And, so 3 whole people showed up on that board, but that was a quorum. There's only 5, so three were enough to make the decision. They voted unanimously to give them another 5 years of having a quarry there. I asked the question afterwards. I mean, we've got a quarry there. We're going to keep having a quarry there. Why don't we just rezone the thing I-3? That's going to make more sense. And they said it probably would have. It was going through ownership change at this point within the last few months. They didn't want to go down that path and rock the boat. They just want to keep
it's there. What are you going to do about it? It's there.
Well, and there's one literally right next to it. If you look at Google Maps, it's right next to another quarry. So I would say at some point, there's probably will end up being I-3. So, and it's a big hole in the ground now, but it's never going to turn into residential neighborhood.
Progress in Bedford County.
Yes. So that was approved. They're going to pay $140,000 bond to continue the quarry. You pay between $1,000 and $2,000 an acre. They've got 70 acres dug up out of their 100 that they have, and they're going to keep on quarrying out there. I guess
until they eat it up.
Until
when they run out of room, what do they do at that point?
I guess you
leave a great big old hole in the ground.
I guess you keep going deeper. I don't know how deep you're allowed to go, but I guess just keep digging. So they're digging. So
all right.
Same day, same time, Thursday at 6:00 was the school board meeting. I obviously couldn't be 2 places at once, so I watched the school board meeting later on Facebook. And the big discussion point in the meeting, about 20 minutes of the meeting, was they ended up hiring a new strength and conditioning position, we'll call it, at Shelbyville Central High School. And Cooper Steele, who we were talking about earlier, was nice enough to step in and donate the money that they can fund this position. We were talking before the show. I guess there's been some changes in what Coach Dryden's doing over there.
Yeah, Coach Dryden was doing a lot of that himself, but he also is stepped up into a role of I guess associate athletic director. He's taken on some of those responsibilities, and that's his specialty is strength and conditioning, because he's worked with the football team, actually being the head football coach, and that team has strengthened themselves up quite a bit. They had a nice year last year, and I think what this would do would free him up so he can take on that role as athletic director as well. and not have the burden of all this, because he's putting in massive amount of hours
Right.
over and above his call to duty.
Sure.
Which
Yeah.
most of these coaches around here do that. I mean,
Yeah, you have to. And
a lot of these coaches are coaches / teachers.
Yeah.
Okay, they're not just coaches.
Yeah.
So when they're on the practice field in the heat in the summer, the little supplement they get, it's not
really
it's not cutting it.
So-
So hats off. I think this is a good thing for them. Now, I would wish that the other two high schools could get the same thing. Hopefully some donors would come up. And I know this is where the Coopers went to high school. I went to high school there, and that's their home school. So they've injected some investment there.
Yeah, and that was part of the discussion. I mean, so you've given it to one high school, so yeah. Now, do your other two say,
Well,
hey,
I mean,
how do we get one?
I mean, every high
So,
school
yeah.
has its own booster club.
Right. So
And I would say they are super boosters. I mean, they've
Yeah.
helped with a lot of the facilities out there, and it increases the value of property for the county when you have an entity come in and add like a field house.
oh yeah,
I mean, it enhances that property.
Yeah.
When you go and you see what's been done at the baseball field that was woefully underachieving what it should be, Cooper still donated to that.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the celebration grounds, and that's not the school, but
Right.
they've invested a lot of
oh
money
yeah.
there.
Cooper.
So
Steel
Cooper
Arena
has
is amazing.
has
So,
has
yeah.
invested a lot back in the community, and this is just one more part of it.
Right. Yeah. And hats off to them for stepping up and helping the high
Yeah.
school. And they had a good season, I think, last year, didn't they? So this hopefully going to lead to another good season.
Well,
So,
yeah, and it's going to kick off here in the next about 3 weeks. They'll start practicing
Yeah.
again. So I know having this strength and conditioning coach will also help with the issue of not having a trainer. Hopefully, I don't know if this person would be qualified as a trainer as well, but I know our high schools do not have athletic trainers that can be on the sidelines, and we're having to rely on EMS or volunteer doctors or
Right.
whatever we can come up with, because the cost of that has gone through the roof, and the availability, if you can even find one, is another topic. It's just
Sure.
not out there. So
Yeah.
hopefully that might help there as well.
Yeah. Hopefully so. And other than that, that was, believe it or not, all the meetings I went to this week. So
Josh, you
it
had a
was
light week.
It
You've
was
been
a
a
light
slacker.
week. I know. I've been slacking off. But have no fear. Next week is a lot crazier. But before we start looking at next week, let's maybe hear from our sponsor one more time.
Yeah, let's hear from Dennis Young. We'll be right back.
With the personalized service you deserve at Dennis Young Insurance Agency.
As a local independent agency, we offer coverage from several different companies, including Erie. So whether it's auto, home, life, personal, or business, we can find the right coverage to meet your unique insurance needs. And with a rate lock advantage, your rates won't go up as long as you do not change drivers, autos, or addresses. Contact us at Dennis Young Insurance Agency, insuring Shelbyville and surrounding areas since 1988.
All righty, welcome back. Josh, wrap us up and tell us what's happening this coming week.
Upcoming week. This is one of the busier weeks on our schedule because it's budget week.
Oh.
Budget week.
I always
budget
call it tax season, tax increase season.
Well,
Do you think we're going to escape this year?
it looks like we're not going to get a tax rate increase so far. Nobody's
right.
talking about one anyways.
I know,
And
it's
this is
been
the week,
quiet.
so
This is
we're
it.
about to find out. Tuesday at noon, the city is going to meet at the old Chamber of Commerce building and have their final city budget workshop and then vote on the whole operation. So all the discussion that happened, I guess it was last week, where they went down the list and picked, do you get a drone, you don't get a drone, you get a pickup, you don't get a pickup. All that is all going to be on paper, and they're going to vote on it, and they're going to set the tax rate, and everything they're telling us ahead of time is the property tax rate is staying the same.
Man, I love that dialogue, though.
Oh yeah, the back and forth.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, going right down the list there.
Yeah.
In the open, right in front of everybody.
yeah, they did. So I mean, there's still the tiny chance they could adjust something. I mean, they're allowed to because nothing's been voted
Yeah,
on.
but they're going to do it right there in front
Oh,
of
they're
us.
going to do it right up live on camera. So watch. You can watch it on their YouTube. You may or may not restream it on Facebook.
The
But
workshop's at noon,
it's at noon. So
and then the hearing is.
that's it for the
6 o'clock.
city. No, the
Oh,
city.
that's the
yeah,
commissioner meeting.
Noon is,
Okay.
yeah, noon is the
I'll
city.
let,
so-
I'm moving outside of my lane. You
Yeah,
take over.
no, that's all right. Same day though. There's again a lot happening. Same day, 4:15. The county over at their Dover Street by the finance office, County Financial Management Committee. This is the regular monthly meeting. They're going to meet for about 30, 45 minutes. They're going to recess for an hour, and then in the same room, we're going to come back and have the final county budget hearing which they've invited any commissioner that wants to come out, and that's why the time is 6 o'clock to try to get hopefully most or all of them
Man,
out.
7 o'clock would be so much better, but
Yeah, well, the problem is you have to sit there for an hour already after the other meeting. So,
Yeah.
you want to turn around and go home and drive back 15 minutes
not
later.
really. Why
So,
not just start all at 6?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where everybody be.
They didn't ask our
I
opinion.
know.
They never asked us. But so at that meeting, there'll be no voting going on, but anybody on the commission can raise their hand and ask a question. Everybody's got the big budget book. Hopefully everybody's been studying their big budget book. And this is the place for the county commission to ask their questions, possibly make some changes to the budget. The county budget doesn't usually get tweaked a whole lot.
No, but
they
that's-
do have the
That's
option.
called collaboration.
That would be collaboration. I'd say that's collaboration.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and will there be compromise? I don't know. We'll find out at the meeting. So, and then the very same day, because again, Tuesday's full, 7 o'clock, County Planning Commission will be meeting in the courthouse, and I would imagine the budget hearing won't even be over yet. So we'll be at Dover Street's
You need
budget
a clone,
hearing.
right?
I'm not going to be at the County Planning Commission. There's no
Okay.
way I can do it. But we discussed this 2 weeks ago, I think. They are re-bringing up the 41 acres on 231 North,
Right.
that's just north of Squire Hall Road, that, is it Hawkins, I believe, wants to
Right. The
get it
expansion there.
rezoned. They want to expand where the Hawkins asphalt plant is. They want to get these 41 acres rezoned predominantly to M1, which is like a
Right.
light industrial kind of zoning that allows asphalt plants. And then just the front 300 feet along 231, they want to make that commercial, C1. The issue with the proposal, which we talked about a couple weeks ago, is there's what's called an overlay district on 231. It's the Shelbyville Gateway Overlay District. And within that district, you're supposed to preserve 1,000 feet of road frontage. So they'll be asking for an exception to their own rules to do this.
So that would
So-
bring the industrial part a little bit closer out
Closer
to the
700
road.
feet closer to the
Right.
road than they would have preferred under
Yeah,
the overlay.
yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah,
So-
so planning could send it forward to the commission to vote on. I mean, you're allowed to present anything.
Sure.
So it's going to be up to the planning commission to decide, do we want to give this a favorable and unfavorable recommendation? And then next month, or assuming it goes through this month, it doesn't get deferred again, it'll be up to the commission, the full commission will get to vote on, do we want to allow this zoning or not allow
Right.
this zoning? So hopefully if you live in that area on the north side of town, particularly what's that, Blackberry Farms is right
Yes.
there across the street.
Yeah.
You may or may not be concerned about the asphalt plant getting bigger. If you are, this would be the time to show up.
Blackberry
at the
Ridge.
meeting. Blackberry Ridge.
Blackberry Ridge,
something with Blackberry. I know there's
Yeah, Blackberry Ridge. Where the old golf course used to
where the old golf course was. So, so if you live there and you're concerned, this would be a meeting you may want to show up at.
Right.
So, because all these meetings have public comment, as we always say, if you show up at the meeting, you get to talk. If there's something on the agenda, if you live there, you might be concerned. So, that's it for Tuesday. And good Lord, that's enough. That was 4 meetings on Tuesday.
back to back to back
Back to back. 2 of them overlapping. Thursday, 6 o'clock, City Planning Commission at the same old Chamber of Commerce building. And originally on their agenda, we were going to be talking today, they were going to have over 1,000 residential units on the agenda.
Right.
Fortunately, somebody got smart and said, wow, that's crazy. So once again, Remington Farms, which is the bigger, more
700
controversial,
something
715 units, has been deferred another month. They decided we don't want to get in the middle of that mess on
Right.
that meeting and have a controversial item. And it was going to be right off the top. I mean, that meeting could have dragged on all night.
Yeah.
So they deferred, but we still have what's called the Lexington Cove PUD, and that starts at Green Hills, wraps over around behind, was it Shelbyville Mills Baptist, Piggly Wiggly,
Piggly Wiggly and
and goes
ties
over to
into the
Morton
other-
Street
yeah,
on the
yeah.
other side. It
Right
come up-
behind the other little neighborhood behind the spay and neuter clinic.
Yes, right behind the spay and neuter clinic. You could, if you lived over there, you could get your dog
Yes.
spayed and neutered
You could
very
walk
easily.
right
You could
over.
walk right over. So if you live in that area, couple concerns with this particular PUD. It's 300 units, which is obviously not as big as the other one, but you're still 300 units. You're talking about 1,000 people in a fairly condensed area. I can't remember the acreage. It's almost a half and half split between townhomes and single family homes. Issues I saw, and I've read through the pattern book, issues with the single family is we're again asking for 5-foot side setbacks and 5,000 square foot lots.
houses. That's
So
close to
you're
each other.
talking houses 10 feet apart. It's debatable on that 5 foot. There's two different things in the packet. One of them said 7.5 foot, which would put 15 feet between the houses.
We have a question.
We have a
Steve
question. We'll
Jordan,
answer.
what's the address of the planning commission meeting so everyone knows exactly where it is? Now county planning.
County planning meets in the historic courthouse on the square.
The historical.
Historic. Well, don't go to the courthouse where you actually go to court. Because
But no,
that's-
the old courthouse.
Yes, the courthouse on the square is the county. The city planning commission meets in the old Chamber of Commerce building,
Across from
which
the
is
dinner
across
table.
from the dinner table.
Right.
So if you know where the dinner table is, it's
There
across
you
the
go.
street.
Hope that helps, Steve.
Yeah, hopefully that gets you. If not, Google either one, and all that's online address
Yeah.
and everything. I don't know street addresses, but hopefully that'll get you there. So the big pub, Lexington Cove. So you've got two big sections of it that are townhomes.
Right.
100 and some total townhomes. They're divided. If you look at them on their map and on all their drawings, these could very easily, if they don't sell to
They'll be
individual
rentals.
buyers, they could either be rentals, or one big buyer could come in, and these could be two apartment complexes before you snap your fingers.
Yeah.
So they're literally in self-contained communities. One's on the south edge next to Vine Street, and one is up right against Morton Street, and they're both, and they're the first. By the time the first two phases, they phase all these developments. After the first two phases are done, the townhomes are there.
Right.
So they don't even have to finish all the single family. If things don't go well, you could end up with the townhomes before you end up with most of the single family homes.
Yeah.
So single family homes, tiny lots, townhomes, lots of them. And then the part of the reason that we have PUDs, the reason that's given us the positive, is the PUD gives the developer something, which is a little more density. In exchange, the developer is supposed to give back the resident better amenities,
Right.
more green space, nice whatever, a pool, a clubhouse, a walking trail, a gazebo. They're supposed to give you something.
Okay.
So in this development, if you look at it, all it's got are two tiny little circles that they're calling pocket parks, which is, I don't know if that's a gazebo, maybe it's a swing set. And then one of the townhome communities on the south end has what's called an amenity area, which again is kind of small. If you're on the other townhomes on the other side of the neighborhood, you get a mail kiosk. You get nothing. You get the shaft is what you get up there. So they're not giving a lot of amenities, but they're taking a lot in density.
And they got a whole bunch of rules in there too, don't they?
Oh yeah, it's HOA.
God,
Lots of rules.
that's- I love-
If you're
I
not
love
an
my
HOA,
rules.
if you're not an HOA fan, this would not be the
I
neighborhood for
love
you.
my rules.
So yeah, but,
The ones I got.
yeah,
I
no,
don't have none.
no rules. So yeah, this is not. If you're not an HOA fan, this would not be the
Yeah.
neighborhood for you. If you're not a density fan, this would not be the neighborhood. Again, 5,000 square feet is the tiniest lot size that we have. I'm in Union Station, which is already too dense. My section is 6,000 square feet, which is tiny, and Ridgewood that they're building now, some of those are 5,000 square feet, and those are like literally postage stamp size. I mean, you get the house on it, and your backyard's like 10 feet
Some
deep.
people like
Yeah.
living in somebody else's lap. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, if you're on
some people.
5,000
It's
square feet,
people have
Yeah.
personal preference.
yeah,
you
if
know?
you don't want to take care of grass or something, maybe. But again, you got those 1,000 people all living in that tiny little neighborhood. They got to get out and drive around town and get services. We're going to have schools for them. So lots of other things we could discuss, but we've gone over that before in the world of development.
Yes.
And then one other interesting thing on that same agenda, there's a section of property on, is it Whithorn Street? Whithorn Street. There's currently R3 that the owner is asking to have it rezoned to R4, which would then allow multifamily, which would either be townhomes or apartments.
Or Section 8 apartments, possibly.
Yeah, we're not allowed to discriminate on what kind of apartments, but they could do anything. That's multifamily. And the problem with that is it's not a big piece of land. It's just a few acres. But with the R4, they could squeeze, I believe I heard, up to 52 units on it.
Let's just put a campground. Permanent campers.
And in the comprehensive plan, for what I've been told, and I have not researched this yet, but I was told this by somebody that works for the city, it doesn't allow R4 in this particular area. The reason they're pushing for it is it's right up against Bedford Manor, and they got allowed R4 back
Let's get
50
as many
years
people
ago.
in there as we can.
So if they get R4, why don't we get R4? It's the old argument. The neighbor got it, I get to get it. So,
Yeah. Entitlement.
so that'll be an interesting discussion. And then unfortunately, this is another overlapping meeting at the exact same time almost that planning is meeting down the hill. Go up to your historic courthouse.
Yep.
And
Climb the levee.
the county at 6:30 is going to have a specially called financial committee meeting to do their final voting on budget amendments, budget for the year. And then immediately following at 7 o'clock, the full county commission will vote on the annual budget for the upcoming year and the property tax rate and all that at 7 o'clock in the courthouse. So I'm going to the planning meeting because I live on the west side of town, and that is more important for me on that side of town. If you're out in the county, you might be more interested in the county budget. You might go to that one. I think the Tuesday county budget meeting will be where most of the discussion, and if there was any compromise.
We've got a visitor.
You got a visiting Doug there. So, but either one would be good to go to, or if not, watch them on Facebook, YouTube, wherever you can find them.
Yep. I'm gonna do all I can to restream them over on Shelbyville Now.
Okay.
So that will hit YouTube, X, and Facebook.
All at once.
If I am in place where I can do it, I will.
Okay.
A lot of unknown factors.
But if not, YouTube, both the city and the county have YouTube, and they do live stream all of these meetings that we listed. Other than, I don't think normally city planning is not, and that's another reason I'll probably go to it. Those are not normally live streams, so
Right.
I'll be at that city planning one for sure, and I'll probably record that.
I
on
bet
my
you
camera.
do.
So and that is what is coming up in the upcoming week. And honestly, that's enough. One quick point that I want to go all the way back earlier on in the show that I forgot to cover. Industrial Development Board, I got to, after the meeting, have a brief conversation with our, what is he? He's our CEO of the partnership, I guess. He's got other titles, but Mr. Hooper, because we'd had the question for several weeks, Project Turquoise. What was Project Turquoise on the Secret Dakota Ring? And nobody remembered, so he set up the Secret Dakota Ring. I asked him, hey, what was Project Turquoise? And finally got the real answer, which is it is a project that didn't make it. So even though on the minutes in 2022, they were given a piece of property, that deal was never signed. They backed out and decided to go in a different direction to a different county.
If memory serves me correctly, back when that was thrown out, the rumor was it was a dog food plant.
Don't know. He didn't give me the rumors.
That might have been what it was.
It may have been. But the facts are that Project Turquoise didn't happen.
Yep.
What did happen, which we had given a retraction a few weeks ago, and I'm going to unretract my retraction because he gave us, again, the full story. Parcel 26, which is going to nearest green still. The deal still has not been signed. We asked for the paperwork. It's still in the works. As we assumed, and normally when we assume we're wrong, but in this case we assume we were right, they no money changed hands for parcel 26.
No, it was just
as with Duxan, as with TCAT.
Right.
The deal with the whole industrial park was taxpayers paid for it with the understanding that we were going to give it to companies to bring jobs. Investment, infrastructure, whatever.
30 jobs.
Parcel 26 we don't know yet because we don't know what they're going to do with it, but they got it. One thing he wanted to point out about that parcel, which I knew, but he said maybe a lot of people in the general public don't know, that parcel is in a terrible location. It is landlocked on all four sides with no utilities onto the actual piece of land. It's a big piece, like 20-some acres.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to run utilities all the way through Duxan to the back of theirs to get onto this parcel, which is going to cost somebody a bunch of money.
And that's going to be a complicated issue.
It's going to be complicated. You got to run water, you got to run sewer, you got to run gas, you got to run electricity.
So a hazardous chemical piece of property.
Well, you're obviously not going to run it right under the plant. I'm assuming you're going to go around an edge, but that's expensive. I mean, to run water and sewer that across a big piece of property to another piece of property.
So what he basically is saying is that property's not worth much.
It's not worth much. And well, we got nothing for it, so it's worth nothing for that. But so it may or may not turn into what they originally envisioned for it, which was the distillery, which we've heard it's not going to, but we'll find out down the road. So that's enough for 1 week.
That is.
For their 3-meeting week, that was pretty close.
I know it. Thanks for watching, guys. And we had 2 commenters.
Yep.
Both of them by the name of Stephen. Stephen Gall joined in. Stephen, good to see you. Steve Jordan, thanks for being here with us and commenting. We encourage you to comment as we discuss these things and report on them. And we'll be back again next week with probably a busy week coming up.
We'll have a lot
to
talk about.
Budgets and how all those came about.
Yes,
so
we will.
We'll be back, same place,